Well, again, everyone, and welcome back to Kovac Enterprises. In this episode, we are going to go over the lighting system that I'm working on for Christine for Mindless HDAModelworxs Halloween group build in 2017. What I've basically been doing is using SMDs. So let me go ahead and set up the camera and different angle, and we'll take a look at the progress we're making with the SMD lighting on Christine. So stand by. Okay, here we are set up out here in the garage. As you can see in front of you is the part of the Christine car, basically looking at the interior bucket and the chassis and the floor pan. And as you can see, we are starting on the process of wiring her up. Just want to kind of right now focus on what I'm using for the SMDs. Basically, I'm using the SMDs that I purchased a while back from HDAModelworxs. Here's an example. For the tail lights, we're using the 0402 red with resistors, 12 volts. Now, like I said, this was bought a while back, so the actual resistors are separate from the lead wires of the SMD, so it's something that you have to basically solder together yourself. You know, I guess maybe things have changed over at his site where he actually solders the resistors now to the leads, so everything's pre-wired and pre-soldered. But this just happened to be an old setup that I had when I bought it from him probably months back. So this is what we're using. So basically, I'm also attaching the lead wires with some magnet wire. Just a little bit easier to use for a 125 scale kit. Hopefully it's a little bit easier to hide the wires as well as when you start putting everything together and in place, so everything can fit real nice and tight. One of the things that I did, let me see if I can bring the light down a little bit here for you, is wiring this stuff up. I actually ran a positive red magnet wire along the outside side panel of the interior bucket and attach it with some actually some Gorilla super glue, and so that's going on this side here. We did the same for the other side, using some green magnet wire for the ground. Red's going to be for the positive, and we got it tied in with some heat shrink and tied into our two SMDs that are right here for the tail lights. You can see where I already soldered the resistors to the positive side of the SMD. And just to kind of let you know, basically one lead wire is longer than the other on these SMDs, and I usually go for the longer one as being the positive side. So that's the side that I use to solder on the resistor. So and I also heat shrinked over that too as well. So basically I have all the positive wires tied into the tail lights, into my one wire here. I also drilled a 3/16 hole where later on I will be fitting it with a brass rod, but for the moment we ran both a extended red magnet wire as well as a green magnet wire. And if I move my camera over, you can see that I have it hooked to my ground wire to the green magnet wire, and my positive alligator clip to the red magnet wire, and it's hooked up to my DC power supply. So our first test will be to actually turn on the power supply, and hopefully we will catch the SMDs coming on in the red mode. So let's give it a shot, and I'll go ahead and turn the light off so you can see it. Alright, so that's going to be our two tail lights eventually. So that is working. You see it's putting out quite a bit of light, so that's a good sign. So like I said, that's the tail lights. And then what I ended up doing, well, let's move the camera back over. Now for the radio, I used an 0402 green SMD light, and what I did was I tied it into the, can bring it up here a little bit. What I ended up doing was actually put it inside the dashboard itself. So we have our, let me get my toothpick here. So basically we have our one positive red wire that I tied into the resistor, and then on the other side we have our ground wire, which is part of the main wire, lead wire for the SMD. I drilled a hole through the plated radio, and then I just put the SMD inside that little hole, and then I put some glue and glaze to hold it in place. So that is that, and give me a second, we'll set it up where we can possibly show you the lit green light on that, so stand by. Okay, so what I ended up doing was tying together the magnet wire that was coming along the side here to our magnet wire that is part of the SMD for the radio on this side, and I temporarily put together the ground wire, magnet wire to the ground lead off the SMD, and tied those together. And as you can see, kind of bring this in a little bit. I'll turn the light off. There's our green light coming in through the radio. So as I said, as well as our two tail lights. So we got good connections there. So next up, we will put together the headlights for Christine, and we will be right back. Okay, last but not least is the Christine's headlights. For this we use the 0402 white with resistor, 12 volts on this one. Now I've only got three of the headlights hooked up because I had an issue with the fourth one. The actual leads cut off and I didn't have any backup, so I actually got another set ordered on the white SMD, but for right now we have the three hooked up to our power supply. Now the same thing, I basically used the existing two lead wires coming off of each SMD. The longer ones I tied in temporarily with the resistors, and then I tied the ground wires together, which is hooked up to my black alligator clamp here, and the red clamp is for the positive. And let's go ahead and turn the power on, and you can see the results. And let's see if I can bring it up a little bit closer for you. And there is our headlights using SMDs. Let me go ahead and turn the light off. That's what it looks like in the darkness. And so I think it looks pretty good. And what I used to actually glue the SMDs in place was I basically put the SMD carefully from the back side, and I put a little drop of some Gorilla Glue. Once it was in there, I used some zip kicker to harden up the Gorilla Glue, and that is what sets it in place. So there you go. That is the, let's see if I can get this there. So that is the lighting of Christine. I hope you enjoyed this video. And then next up we will move forward with getting Christine done and complete on our next video. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope everybody has a good weekend, and we will catch you on the next episode. So long. Bye.